Well, folks, here again for the weekly forecast. During this last week, of course, we did have a frontal boundary passage move through during the early part of the week that did bring some inclement weather to portions of the state, a little bit of scatter sprinkle activity and some actual thunderstorms developing on Tuesday in southeastern Nebraska, basically right along the Kansas-Nebraska border. Most of the precipitation associated with that storm system hit the upper Midwest with some significant snowfall across portions of the Great Lakes. Now, before we get to the main forecast, a couple of our viewers have inquired whether or not El Nino was still in play and approximately when we would expect it to basically dissipate into neutral conditions, if not moving to a La Nina. So we thought this was a perfect opportunity to present you the latest sea surface temperature deviations and how things are progressing as we go through the last few months. So here's your equatorial Pacific. Here's the last of the El Nino signal. We have a small area, basically right at the surface, of temperatures that are deviating between 1 and 2 degrees above normal, and as you get out into the central Pacific, we're looking at somewhere on average about 1 degree above normal for the average. Now, this is sharply down over the last month and a half as we've seen a rapid deterioration of this event, so that underneath of the surface where we had about 200 meters of warmth, we have now shrunk that down to about 50 meters of warmth, and it's rapidly deteriorating as a big pocket of cold water is moving underneath of the equatorial Pacific and starting to move that water up into the eastern Pacific. So this is the last surge of heat that will probably make its way westward, and as it moves westward, we will see the cold water starting to upwell in the eastern Pacific, which will be our early signal that the El Nino is finally coming to an end. Irregardless, based on what we are seeing right now, I would anticipate that this El Nino will still be in play for the next 30 days or so. So we'll still feed the southern stream jet with moisture out of the Pacific, although as we go forward in time, it will definitely weaken and we will see more of a northern stream, but the northern jet become the dominant player as we head into the late spring and the early part of the summer. The overall writing question is, how quickly do we revert, and if we are going to revert to a La Nina, when will it occur? As far as I can tell, the way this thing is dropping off and in relation to previous El Nino events of this strength, we would probably anticipate sometime in late June or early July that we'll probably shift into a La Nina. If the Climate Prediction Center is correct, it won't occur till this fall, but from what I am seeing, this is rapidly dissipating, and we are likely to see La Nina conditions which would influence the western Corn Belt with drier conditions, particularly during the second half of this summer. So we'll wait to see whether or not this verifies. In regards to what's actively going on right now, we do have this troughing pattern that's been situated over the Great Lakes region that has brought successive storm systems across the region and into the upper northeastern United States. For us, we're kind of caught between the two jets. We have a northern stream to our north and we have the southern stream to our south, so we have some fairly benign weather for this weekend, fairly warm conditions developing as we move through the weekend, and as we get into tomorrow, we'll start to see the northern stream trying to push southward, and we have this upper level low that's starting to move into the central plains regions. Right now, most of the models keep the moisture to the south of Nebraska with very extreme southern Nebraska on the northern periphery of some potential thunderstorm activity that will develop across the northern half of Kansas. So as we get into Monday, here comes this wave out into the central United States, but it looks like the northern stream will keep push far enough south to keep this moisture to our south. If this is a little bit slower, we would expect this moisture to ride up at least to the I-80 corridor as we go into Monday. Now, as we get into Tuesday, that system rapidly moves across the southeast. We see high pressure building into the central plains with a warming trend as we go through the week, and it looks like we'll see fairly decent temperatures all the way through the week as we see a big system moving on board in the western United States that will start to shift our flow from the southwest and the upper atmospheres to a southerly flow as we get later into the week at the surface, which will start to bring a lot of moisture into our region. So by the time we get to Thursday, we start to see this low organize. It'll start to deepen and track toward the south as we get into Friday. And at this time, we'll start to see precipitation develop in the western United States, also in the western panhandle, and that will spread eastward as the weekend progresses, and there are signs that this system will cut off and remain in play for the better part of the next 7 to 10 days as we get from next Friday on toward the remainder of the month. So as we look at the 8 to 14 day forecast, reflects this upper air low starting to move out from next Thursday to the following Tuesday. In regards to precipitation, a large section of the western United States will see above normal moisture.